WQAD News 8, this is WQAD This Week.
Good morning. It's Sunday, July 17th. Thank you for joining us for News 8 This Week. I'm Jon Diaz. This week, News 8's Josh Lamberty spoke with a former Dixon police officer. Together, they watched surveillance video released this week from inside Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. We're going to sit down with Josh in just a moment. But first, as he reported this week, the officer has now viewed the video twice and says his response would have been quite different. We want to warn you, the video you're about to see may be upsetting.
Just after 11:30 in the morning on May 24th, a shooter walks into Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas.
We've been training since 2001 for this in Dixon.
That training is not what Mark Dallas saw reflected in the next 77 minutes.
You go in, you eliminate the threat. That's as simple as that.
Dallas is a retired Dixon police officer.
You got one arriving back here in the back.
Who confronted and arrested an active shooter at Dixon High School in 2018.
I would have never stayed in this hallway. I'd have been in that room.
For more than an hour.
It's an active shooter situation. We don't train like that.
Officers waited in that hallway.
I'm baffled. It's either lack of training or just being ordered to hold, which I've been in trouble before with orders, and I would have disobeyed that order.
I see the officers responding to the shots being fired in the school by retreating. And to me, that means that the officers were not trained in an environment where gunshots were being fired.
Scott County Sheriff Tim Lane has watched the video too and says that decision to move back set the tone for the whole response.
And our training specifically addresses that. And an officer that goes into an active shooter event will have had experience of going into a simulated active shooter event, hearing real gunshots.
Later in that response,
a ballistic shield that would stop that guy's round.
More equipment arrives.
This high-dollar equipment just sitting there doing nothing.
Dallas's training was different.
We'd engaged a long time ago without any of that equipment.
And after analyzing,
yeah, it's kind of unorganized.
Dallas's view is firm.
19 cops out here, go. Flood that room. Yeah.
77 minutes.
Way too long.
Too long of a response.
And joining us now is News 8's Josh Lamberty. Josh, there's a lot to unpack here in that story, a lot of background. But before we get to that, you know, we talk about being objective as journalists, yep. Right? But we still react emotionally. We feel the things that our viewers, I imagine, feel. What did it feel like watching that video?
Well, John, this was the first time that I had watched that video almost in its entirety. We didn't watch the full, hour and change that it was. We simply didn't have enough time to do that. But what I can tell you is that it was tough for me to watch that. It was tough for Officer Dallas to watch that. It was tough for Sheriff Lane in Scott County to watch that. It's tough video to watch. And it was incredibly difficult to put that story together, knowing just how excruciatingly painful it was to watch that video. And I think it's important for us to at least recognize that part of our jobs that we're seeing this video often for the first time, and it was incredibly difficult to watch.
Yeah, because we know what's going on, off camera there.
Yes, we do.
Let's talk about the officer that you interviewed. You interviewed him for a very specific reason. He has, unfortunately, experience in this.
He has. Officer Dallas has been in almost this exact situation. I want to use a similar situation because I don't think we can equate two school shootings to be exactly the same. But in 2018, he was the school resource officer at Dixon High School. He confronted an active shooter in the high school when they were practicing for graduation. He shot that shooter twice and was able to take him into custody. And from his account, that whole active shooter situation was over in less than 2 minutes in Dixon.
All right, so he knows what he's talking about.
He knows what he's talking about.
It's sometimes very easy to criticize. You can watch a video and you can sort of be critical of what you see. There's a lot of information we don't know.
Correct.
Still.
Correct.
What was the sense that you got as he approached this video and as he approached offering you his opinion of what he saw?
Sure, I think that's an important question. We can all Monday morning quarterback what we would have done, and Officer Dallas said the same thing. He could Monday morning quarterback all of this, but he's relying on his experience, his training, when he's offering this critique. Also, an important note, we are all seeing this through our own lens, right? We all have our own personal experiences for how we would have reacted. Officer Dallas is looking at that the same way. He has his own training that he would have looked at this through. But we're also only looking at this from one perspective. We're looking at this from one surveillance camera. We don't know if there is more surveillance video out there that could lend to another perspective. We don't know whether officers came in from another entrance as well. We can't see that. And so Officer Dallas really only gave his critique from what he could see. We have evidence in front of us, but it's only part of the picture. And he was very intentional with his critique in that way, that he can only critique what he can see.
Is there anything that surprised you that the officers said in your interview or did not say?
Sure. Officer Dallas said from his training with the Dixon Police Department, he said, we would have piled up our bodies to get in there, to engage him. We would have piled up at the door if we had to. And he goes on to say that that's probably what needed to be done to save lives in Uvalde. That was shocking. That hit home. That surprised me. He also, the other piece that really surprised me too is that he says the law enforcement initial response was pretty good. If you watch the video, they're coming in that door about 2 minutes or so, 2 to 3 minutes after the shooter walked in. So the initial police response is good. He praised that. What follows the next 75 minutes or so is what really was tragic.
Josh, thank you. Yeah, very difficult to watch, but some great reporting there. Thank you. News 8's Josh Lamberty. All right, still ahead on this week, looking for workers. UnityPoint Health Trinity hosting a hiring event this week. We talked with recruiters this morning on what kind of need they have and what that means for prospective job seekers.